class, welcome to our reading lesson. Let's get started by reading our learning target. Remember, our learning target is what helps us to focus our lesson and know what it is that we need to be able to do in order to be successful with this lesson. I can compare and contrast the most important points from two texts on the same topic. Remember, compare and contrast. Let's look back at those words because those are new words. Compare means to describe how two or more things are alike or similar. And contrast means to describe how two or more things are different, okay? Then we look at important points because without these important points, then we couldn't complete the rest of the target of comparing and contrasting. So an important point is the most important details, facts, examples, and other piece of information in a text. In order to determine if a point is important or unimportant, ask yourself this question. Do I need this information to understand the main idea? Or is this information just interesting? Okay? If the information is just interesting, it's not important. But if we need it in order to understand the main idea, what the text is all about, then it is important to us, okay? Yesterday we went through and we decided which points were important and unimportant in a text. If you did not watch yesterday's video, then you need to stop this video, go back and watch yesterday's reading video, and then come back to continue, okay? All right, so we are in our Ready Reading Journal on page 334. 334. Remember, we are reading two texts on the same topic. So you need to go back and reread, which means read again, recycle that, and then over on the next page, 336, turning trash into treasure. So go ahead, pause the video, reread both of those articles, and then you may unpause the video. All right, so now that you've reread both of those articles and refreshed your memory on what those two articles were about, let's talk about what the topic, the subject of both of those texts were. Both of those texts were talking about recycling. Remember, recycle means to reuse it or to use it again, okay? In both of these articles, we talked about different types of recycling or different types of things that we can recycle and make useful to help our environment. We also went through yesterday and we underlined some important points, and we talked about which points were unimportant or just there as an interesting fact, okay? So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we are going to look at the questions that you answered yesterday on page 337 and page 338. So if you have not taken the time to answer those questions, you need to stop this video and answer those questions. The purpose of this video is for you to understand why you got an answer correct, why you agree with that answer, or maybe where a mistake was made and how we can correct that mistake to do better next time, okay? And to help us continue our learning. All right, so if you are with me still, that means that you have answered the questions on page 337 and on page 338, right? All right, great. Let's go ahead now and let's flip through these questions, okay? All right, question number 1 has part A and part B. First answer part A, then answer part B. Based on both articles, which sentence about landfills is true? So we're talking about both texts. So here we are comparing the two texts and what they both say about landfills. Now we could go back in our text really quickly and let's skim and scan for those words landfills. In recycle that, it's in paragraph number 4. It says, and where does all our trash go? Most of it goes into land set aside just for trash, but we throw out so much trash that our landfills are filling up. Soon, there won't be any more room. Now let's turn to turning trash into treasure and finding landfills in that one. Landfills is found in paragraph number 2, so let's reread paragraph 2. When we recycle things, we turn them into new things to use again. From old newspapers, we make new paper. From old cans and empty bottles, we make new ones. Recycling can keep our landfills from getting too full. If we aren't careful, we may run out of room, okay? So based on both of those texts, what did they both say about landfills? Those were both important details, weren't they, or important points. All right, so are landfills a good solution to the trash problem? No, they both told us that landfills, if we're not careful, we could run out of room. So those are not a good solution. Landfills will never get too full. That's not true. It told us if we're not careful, they will get full. Landfills are safe places to dispose of trash. Is that true? No, remember, it goes back to that same idea. If we're not careful, we're not going to have any more room. The landfills are not the best way to get rid of trash. That is true. We know that because it says landfills are getting too full. If we aren't careful, we may run out of room. And that same idea was talked about in both articles. So B is the correct answer. Now it wants us to support why we chose that answer. So let's go to recycle that. Back to paragraph number 4. It says, but we throw out so much trash that our landfills are filling up. Soon there won't be any more room. So that is a sentence from that is a sentence from Recycle That. So we're just going to take that sentence and write it in here. Okay? All right, but we throw out so much trash. Landfills are filling up. Okay, soon there will not be any more room. Now let's go back to turning trash into treasure. It says in that paragraph 2, recycling can keep landfills from getting too full. If we aren't careful, we may run out of room. Okay? So landfills will get too full. All right, so they both have that same idea. Now let's go ahead and let's check number 2. Read these sentences from Recycle That. Many towns and cities have special programs for recycling. Each home gets a special container for items to be recycled. Which of the following means the same as container? So here we're using our context clues to find the meaning of the word container. Okay? All right, each home gets a special container for items to be recycled. So what does the word container mean? Plan. Thinking of how to do something before you do it. Box. Something that holds things inside of it. Area. An open place or space. D. Direction. Something you follow or a way you go. So each home gets a special container for items. Okay? So I know that this container is for items. So let's see which one we could cross off. Plan, thinking of how to do something before you do it. You can't hold items in a plan. What about direction? Something you follow or a way you go. You can't hold an item in a direction, right? A direction is telling you a way to go. So we have box or area. A box is something that holds things inside of it. Can we put an item inside a box? Can it hold that? Area, an open place or space. We could put something inside an open area, but let's read and see which one of these words fits in this sentence better. Each home gets a special box for items to be recycled. Each home gets a special area for items to be recycled. Okay, here it's going to be talking about a box because we're putting those recycled items into a container or into a box. All right, now let's go ahead and let's go to number 3 and number 4. Number 3 and number 4 are helping us to plan for our short response. Now let's go ahead and read what it wants us to do. Compare and contrast the most important points in the articles. What points are the same? What are 2 ways the information about recycling and turning trash into treasure is different from the information in Recycling That? So we need to tell how the points are the same and how the points are different. So in our plan, it wants us to create a Venn diagram. Okay, you might need to use a separate sheet of paper to do this, or if you had some extra room somewhere in your Ready Reading Journal. So we're going to put turning trash into treasure on one circle. And then we're going to put recycle that above another circle. And in the middle, we're going to say both. So how they are both the same here. Okay. Now, we've already found out that one thing from both of these that was important is that we throw away a lot of trash, right? Remember, we talked about that in question 1. If we continue throwing away trash, our landfills are going to fill up. So in both articles, we talked about people throwing out a lot of trash. Okay? It also told us in both articles, what was the main idea of both of these articles? That recycling is important. Okay? So that was important ideas from both. Now let's contrast and let's tell how they are different. So in turning trash into treasure, what was mentioned in this article that was not mentioned in recycle that? Well, in turning trash into treasure, we talked about compost, right? Compost being a type of recycling. So that was one way or one thing that was different in turning trash into treasure that was not in recycle that. Compost is a way to recycle. Okay? Was there anything else mentioned in turning trash into treasure that was different, that contrasted or was not mentioned in recycle that? Remember, we talked about in this article that there a couple paragraphs were just interesting facts that told us how to make a compost, but that wasn't what we needed to understand the whole text, so it wasn't an important point, okay? All right, now let's go back to recycle that. What was something that was different about recycle that from turning trash into treasure? Okay, it talked about changing the earth, didn't it? And the ways that we change the earth. That wasn't really talked about in turning trash into treasure, the specific ways that we change earth. So in recycle that, it talked about changing the earth. And the ways that we change earth, right? What are some of those things that we do? We throw away everything, right? We're using things from the ground. In paragraph 2, fields and hills are dug up to get sand to make glass and metals to make cans. The plastic we use are made from oil pumped from deep inside the earth. Each time we take something from the earth, we change the earth. The ways we change it are not always good for us or for wild animals. Okay, so in recycle that, it was different because it told us that we were changing earth by taking things from earth. Okay, so now we can answer that short response question and tell how the points are the same from the articles and how they are different. So remember, when we are doing a short response question, we need to restate the question. When we restate the question, we have to tell what points are the same and what ways are they different, okay? So we're going to answer that by saying turning trash into treasure and recycle that are different and alike. Okay, so we restated the question. We told them that they're alike. Now we're going to answer the question, and as we're answering it, we're going to cite our evidence. So they are both talking about the importance of recycling. All right, they also talked about we throw away a lot of trash, right? They also talked about people throwing away a lot of trash. All right, so we've answered the question about what points are the same. Now we need to tell how these points are different. In turning trash into treasure, the author told us compost is one way to recycle. All right, and then in Recycle That, it told us that changing Earth, that we are changing Earth because we're taking things from Earth. So we need to recycle in order to keep Earth healthy, right? So I'm going to go ahead and continue writing that. I'm going to start it over here. I'm going to erase some of my Venn diagram here. All right. In Recycle That, the author wrote about people changing the earth by taking things from it. Okay, so now let's go back and make sure that we've told how the points are alike and how they're different. Turning trash into treasure and Recycle That are different and alike. They are both talking about the importance of recycling. They also talked about people throwing away a lot of trash. In Turning Trash into Treasure, the author told us compost is one way to recycle. In Recycle That, the author wrote about people changing the earth by taking things from it. Okay, so here we have told how these articles are alike and how they are different. Let's reflect back on our learning target now. I can compare and contrast the most important points from two texts on the same topic. Were we able to decide which points were important and unimportant? If we were, then we met that part of our success criteria. Were we able to determine how those important points of two texts are alike and different? That's what we just did when we answered this question, wasn't it? So if we were able to do that, then we were successful with our learning target today. Okay? All right, guys, I hope that you've had a great time learning about compare and contrast and that you were able to take a lot of information and learn a lot about how to recycle. Bye, guys.